In this video, I wanted to document and share some progress I've made on a project building a mixed reality drone racing game using Unity and ROS. I'm pretty early in the process, so this demo will really only show the positioning aspects of the game, which involve estimating the 3D position of a physical object and mapping that to a game object in a virtual environment. I'm not going to get into all the details, but I wanted to share the basic setup and functionality I've got so far, and to talk through where I'd like to take it next. So for the game, I've built a rough 3D model in Unity of the guest bedroom here in my apartment and added a few racing gates to the scene. In the physical world, these gates correspond to roughly these spots here. I didn't do a super precise job calibrating everything, so it's going to be a little off, but you should still be able to get the gist of it. For the drone, I'm using an off-the-shelf Crazyfly with a lighthouse positioning deck and a SteamVR base station mounted on my shelf. This setup lets the Crazyfly compute its own position and orientation in real time using just its onboard processors. This pose information is then sent over radio to my PC using the Crazyfly's radio dongle, and on the PC I have a ROS network set up with a publisher node that listens for this data and then broadcasts it out on the network. I also have another node on the network that Unity uses to subscribe to these ROS messages from its own runtime. Finally, in Unity, I have a simple script that takes the pose estimate messages coming in from ROS, transforms them into Unity's coordinate system, and then uses the transformed pose to set the position and orientation of the virtual drone within the game. So that's kind of the data flow for the project right now. Basically, the Crazyfly estimates its pose, which eventually makes its way into Unity with a few stops and manipulations along the way. The game itself is pretty simple right now, basically just to prove out the concept of using a physical object to interact with things in a virtual environment. So as the drone flies through the gates will change color, and when the drone has flown through all the gates, the final lap time will be shown. I don't have the input controls set up currently, so I can't actually fly the drone with Unity. So instead, I'm just going to walk the drone through the gates manually for now, which is also safer because I'm a terrible pilot. So now I'm going to launch the game as well as all the ROS nodes, and you'll see that once everything is started up, the drone position starts to update in real time in the game. So I can wiggle things around and you'll see the same thing happens in the game simultaneously. Now, as I physically move the drone through the room, you can see the game logic execute with the gates changing color and the lap time being printed once I go through the last gate. So that's basically where I've gotten to so far, and the next few things to work on will include adding in a live first-person camera feed that I can overlay the game objects onto, adding in input controls so I can fly the drone using a game controller from Unity, and maybe fleshing out the gameplay a little bit more. Beyond that though, there's a bunch of different directions I could take this, and what's really cool about this whole thing is that it's pretty modular, since I have all of Unity's tooling to try and build a sick game with, and all of ROS's flexibility to interject more advanced functionality and even autonomy. I'm really interested to hear what other thoughts there are as well, so please feel free to comment with any suggestions or thoughts you have. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next update.